You got the note that this meeting is being recorded. This is the Economic Development Commission meeting of September 4th. We're meeting here in the Old Town Hall Conference Room. I'll turn things over to you, man.
Call to order. I guess the first thing is if we want to approve the minutes to a motion to. I think our last meeting was, you were there.
I was at that one, yes.
That was the minutes.
Approve the special one.
Yes. So, motion vote. All those in favor? Approve the minutes. Thank you, see Jen's hand up.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, can you turn the air conditioning off?
Yeah, I will.
Sorry.
I tried to open the windows, but they're like cemented shut or something. I can't manage it, so
Last
I
open in
put it in
17
to get a little bit of air circulation, but it is hard to hear with it running. So hopefully you can hear now.
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you.
I thought that was a temperature joke for your surroundings. Turn things over to Mark.
I'm going to take things a little out of order. So in your packet, I apologize for those. I meant to be able to share my screen this morning, but I can't seem to get my laptop to connect with our wonderful Wi-Fi in this building. So I just did provide a handout, and I'll send this out to all joining online, providing an update on some of the projects that the Economic Development Commission has supported in the past. Couple notes I wanted to make. So 65 Station Street or 55 Station Street did include a copy of the letter that was submitted on the commission's behalf in support of the project. You'll recall this is a proposed two-story office building addition in next to the Southport train station. That's about 7,000 square feet, very modest in size and scale. And so the public hearing commenced on Tuesday. They didn't conclude the public hearing, so it was recessed to a later date this month. Do anticipate that there continues to be opposition within the neighborhood for this project. It's hard to fathom because it's really quite minor. And given the alternatives, we had looked at residential development, mixed-use development. So this again seems to be much more modest and in keeping with the neighborhood and less impactful if you're looking at things like traffic and other impacts. So in any event, we'll continue to monitor that, but I will make sure those joining virtually get a copy of the letter submitted on behalf of the commission in support of the project, as well as the update. Couple notes.
Just a quick question on that.
Yeah.
Do you ever consider maybe an op-ed piece for being difficult for something that, I understand the opposition to overbuilding the apartments and stuff, but when you have something appropriate in scale within planning and zoning, they just make it so much more difficult to do business in this town.
I would agree. I don't understand really the rationale behind it because they've, there was one comment made that we like the place as is, and we're not interested in any change. Now, that's unrealistic. Things change constantly. Whether you like it or not, things are always changing, evolving. So, I agree with you. I think it is.
It's like with the CMDC, it's such a low bar, and the hurdles that people have to go through, it just seems somewhat absurd.
Point is well taken. Maybe that would be helpful at some point to include. We can certainly develop a letter to the editor. Commission members could author something like that as well. But I think it's frustrating. It's frustrating for sure. On the more positive note, I'll start with the positive notes.
Sorry about that.
Those of you who may have driven past the former Exide site may have noticed some work being done on the site. I know wasn't necessarily our favorite end use for the facility, but it is going to be the new auto dealership for Penske Porsche dealership, Penske Automotive. They started work this past month. We anticipate that'll be completed by hopefully this time next year, about a year in construction. The conversion of the bank branch and Greenfield Hill, 161 Hillside.
Wow, that's been long.
It's been moving along, and they're very close to getting their certificate of occupancy. So that should be completed within the next 30 to 60 days.
Finally for them.
I will note, to your point earlier, Mr. Chair, that there was an appeal taken. I don't think that litigation has ever been resolved, so all this work is at risk, which is interesting. Usually those things are disposed of before commencing work, but they proceeded ahead. I think they must feel very confident in their position that the approval was warranted and there isn't much grounds for the appeal. But it's very interesting that hasn't been fully adjudicated at this point, and they're very close to taking occupancy of the building. So to the two auto dealerships, the Genesis sales and service facility at 338, we do anticipate a revised application coming in. They've kind of pivoted. They purchased the property, the former Infiniti dealership at 26 Commerce. They're planning to renovate and use that facility for their new Genesis dealership. We're anticipating an application being filed within the next month or so. But the work at 251 Commerce, Jangris for the new Chrysler Jeep Dodge sales and service facility is moving along. We expect that to be completed by the end of the year. And then we do anticipate that the big mixed-use development, 250 units at 81 Black Rock Turnpike, will be under construction hopefully by the end of the year. They'll have their approvals in place, other than they're waiting for sign-off on the remedial action plan from US EPA. It is a brownfield site. It's next to, between Illicit and the train station. So again, I've been in conversations with the development team. We've talked about, ways in which we might be able to help them get eyeballs on the application at EPA. You're all familiar with some of the staffing challenges at the federal level these days. Things seem to be taking a lot longer to get through review by federal agencies such as EPA. We have another project that we're similarly waiting for EPA to provide clearance on, so we can move ahead with the cleanup. So again, that project should be underway. Do anticipate that that'll be a fairly substantial construction project. It won't be complete until probably the latter half of 2027. And then we're waiting still on the Circle Inn redevelopment. It was approved, both the mixed use and the alternative set-aside development under 830G, which is much larger. Both applications were approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Both are under appeal, and hopefully that'll work its way through the court system.
Do we know if they have a preference, which way to go?
Well, I think the development team, as I understand, their preference, as is ours, is the mixed-use development. But they wanted to preserve their option in case that the court held, with an application like the mixed use, it did require some zone text amendments, which are at the discretion of the commission, but have are always susceptible to judicial review as to whether or not the conditions were warranted to approve them. It's perhaps a little clearer path forward on the 830G, which imposes the burden not on the applicant but the town to find reasons to deny it. So again, we're hopeful that all said and done, we can't, I would imagine the neighborhood too would prefer something less in scale. And so hopefully as we begin the process, and there's always, settlement discussions to take place. So we're hopeful that that will get ironed out.
Trying to keep a trump card.
Exactly.
Mark, what was the final hotel count for rooms?
They had 110, and I've continued to have, I didn't include it on their project list because but I've continued to have conversations with the development team at Fairfield BlackRock. It's, I guess we're calling it Creek Line now.
Change the name again.
Crossings at Fairfield Metro, now it's Creek Line. So they just completed the apartment building. They had presented a concept plan for the commission to consider revisions to their master site plan, which included a bigger hotel and more residential units, but they never followed up with a formal application. And, my understanding now is, again, they've had some changes in the ownership structure in terms of who's taking the lead, who's the managing partner versus the subordinate equity investor. But they're, again, changing their architectural team. So they're hoping to, I think part of it, what motivated, as I understand it, is they didn't feel like what was shown conceptually needed to be tweaked to make it cost effective. So they didn't feel like they could build that and end up getting a return on that investment. So they were looking for ways in which they could revise that somewhat to make it more buildable. So with that said, invited them to come in, but the hotel is clearly, first and foremost, as that's the next project. They did, I asked them directly whether they had any issues, from their conversations with hotel operators, whether they felt that the market was not ready or couldn't support additional hotel development. And they said, no, quite the contrary. So I'll have to take them at their word that there isn't really any impediments to moving forward other than, their timing in terms of switching courses on the architectural portion of the project. And site, I guess they're looking at a new site civil too.
I'm just curious on the Circle Inn. Do they own the property where the diner is? Is it the same owner? Or?
Yes, yeah, they do. Yes, they do.
So
I
what's
recall that came up at our meeting with them, and they indicated they had a lease with Circle Inn. They hadn't anticipated any changes in terms of.
That was in the paper. They tried. I don't know if you followed it. They said they were in breach of their lease, and they were trying to shut down the Circle Diner. And
Yeah, they have non-payment of rent.
I saw that.
Or tardy payment of
I
rent.
think they're just trying to force them out. So I just wonder if they're trying to build something bigger there, or.
They may be more, I don't know, I haven't talked to them. I think your assessment is probably spot on. I think if they had their druthers, they would prefer a different operator, maybe, in keeping with the directions they're going with redevelopment of the property, the rest of the property. I'm not sure that they were anticipating incorporating that. That would involve a whole new application. So I'm not sure that that's what they had in mind, but perhaps they
More upscale restaurant for.
different restaurant. And that's just,
Just trying to do the math. It's a lot of breadcrumbs there.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll pause if there's any questions on other properties of interest in town.
Mark, next to us, there's been like 10 or 15 school buses there for a while. Then there's been cars in and out. So I didn't know if it's just being used by the town overflow or whatever.
Which property are we talking about?
The one right next to our building.
Oh, the Mill Plain lot?
Yeah.
No, it's just overflow right now.
Overflow.
Yeah, they are allowing folks to use it for overflow parking. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's
No
just,
long-term commitments there, for sure.
okay.
So I had a few, if there's no other questions on development applications or sites of interest. Again, I apologize for not sending out the update, but I'll send that out following the meeting, as well as a copy of the letter that we submitted on Station Street. A couple other things that I wanted to call to your attention.
Thank you, sorry.
Planning and Zoning Commission will be having a public hearing on the draft plan of conservation and development. I know this has been a long time in coming. The public hearing will be held on the 9th of September. Again, I didn't put this together beforehand, but I just wanted to, there is a copy of the POCD draft on the town's website. I encourage you to take a look at, and if you're able to attend the public hearing on the 9th. I did want to note that the current draft does include all of the recommendations that we had recommended, all the recommendations that we had made to the Planning and Zoning Commission in our letter dated October 16, 2023. That letter also referenced several meetings that we had with the planning consultant team and staff in 2022. And we're now in 2025. And, this actually process began prior to the pandemic. So you understand that things had to be put aside because of the pandemic. We had other things to attend to, and what's really helpful to have large public gatherings during that time. But this has been going on, my point is this has been going on for 5+ years. And, it's important for the town to have a master plan of development. That's what a plan of conservation development is. It's a blueprint, a guide to help instruct developers, town staff, the public at large, as to what the town's objectives are, both in terms of where we'd like to see development occur, what types of development we're looking for, as well as other overarching issues in terms of land use and open space and the like. So
Is this supposed to be updated every 10
it's
years?
supposed to be updated every 10 years. So we technically meet that requirement, and I use the word technically because we have gone through a series of amendments or changes to our POCD that haven't looked substantively at the overall plan, but have either provided some updated demographic or other data, as well as focused on specific areas of town. And as a result, the clock has been reset. So most recently, the town undertook transitory development planning study of the area around the Fairfield Black Rock train station as well as downtown. Those recommendations were incorporated into the town's master plan, and so the clock was reset at that time. But the point that's one thing. We've looked at recently land use around the area around Commerce Drive and to a lesser extent downtown, but we haven't looked holistically at the town. We haven't looked at other areas and what we're trying to do. So it is long overdue. We haven't done a substantive rewrite of our plan since 2010. 2000, I would argue, is probably the last comprehensive. And then we haven't revised we haven't done a comprehensive rewrite of our zoning regulations in 30+ years. So as you can imagine, over a period of time, as people make amendments, there's a lot of, the zoning regulations don't hang together very cohesively. It's hard to understand exactly what the town's trying to accomplish in certain you need folks to kind of interpret those regs. So the point is, it's long overdue. Really hope that we're at the end of this process. I think you should feel gratified that the Planning and Zoning Commission did incorporate your suggestions into the draft. That's before as part of the public hearing. But if you had time and wanted to attend and say anything, it would just simply be encourage the Planning and Zoning Commission to adopt the plan as it is. Because I really think that they've done a great job. Certainly have provided a lot of opportunity for thoughtful reflection and input, and outreach to the public. But it's time, I think, to complete this process.
It's a lot of work, and
It's a lot of work, and again, it's if you have any other questions on it, but again, there's a segment of the POC, a sustainably prosperous community, starting on page 28. That's deals with economic development and the recommendations that can be found at the end of that chapter, and again, dovetail very closely to the recommendations you put forth. So, yeah, at the time, if you'd like to say a few words or plan to attend, I encourage you to support their efforts to adopt the plan as currently drafted.
but I will be out of the country.
So hopefully that'll move forward. The other thing I did, when I see Colin on the call, and Steve Rosato was at the RTM meeting on the 28th of July. The RTM did overwhelmingly approve the resolution signaling the town's interest in participating in the Connecticut Municipal Development Authority. It was a fairly lengthy, process in terms of a number of opportunities. We had to have a public hearing to again solicit public input on that. There were concerns expressed, but I think, again, staff, David Curris from the CMDA, RTM members, Colin, Michelle McCabe, the other co-sponsor, Steve, all did a great job in terms of addressing those factually, because there's a lot of misconceptions as to what this step entailed.
Kudos to Colin, who made a really good introduction, and his remarks were really good. So you did a great job, Colin. I was very impressed.
I don't know, Colin, if
Yeah,
you'd like to add?
I have nothing to add other than it was an arduous
process.
Really interesting. There was a lot of, Smart's point, a lot of misrepresentation. People kept citing 830G and things that were really not. It was just plain
weren't
wrong.
germane to the-
It was incorrect. It was not factual at all, the concerns that people were raising. And just they were worried that the Connecticut is going to dictate what we have in town. It's like, they do not. It defers to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I think I said this at one of the hearings, but I think the challenge is that the state, truthfully, has eroded trust with residents, especially in a town like Fairfield, because they have done really crappy stuff like 832 and not amended it in any way. And we've been, I would argue, negatively impacted by that. And I think that is, when people see a state agency, and then again, myself included, it's like, whoa, we don't want to get involved with the state any more than we already have to listen to all their demands. So, it was frustrating because so much of it was not actually correct. But at the same time, I also understand that, people just don't trust the state. I don't trust the state for shit. So, I'm with many other people.
It was most definitely a trust issue for sure. And on top of that, I think, again, to your point, Colin, we've muddied the waters so much with a lot of other proposals that people were conflating the two. There's a live, work, ride proposal that was part of HB 5002 that got a lot of attention and controversy. The governor vetoed it. It's now subject to a special, they're looking at a special session taking it up in session this fall. But again, some of those proposals were different than what was being proposed as part of the CMDA, but people were getting them all mixed together. And so I think, that certainly didn't help for sure. But I do appreciate You're persistent, Colin, Steve, persistence, because it was a very lengthy and arduous journey to get to that point. So I did talk to David afterward, and he said by far, this was the most difficult one, just to get to the point where we're having a conversation. Really, this juncture is whether to express a level of interest to see if it's a good match going forward, if it means anything. So it was tough sledding, but we got it through.
Mark, do you have any insight into when the Board of Selectmen is going to be taking this up on the upcoming meeting?
So the next step, Colin, is I think it's incumbent upon the administration, the first selectman, hopefully with input from our office and planning, to suggest the areas that CMDA should focus on and evaluate whether or not our zoning is consistent with the policy direction that they have. So the easiest path would be simply to put forward the existing TOD overlay district at Fairfield Blackrock and put that forth. And I think that's fairly easy for CMDA to certify, and we could always change that from there. But that would be the next step, is to identify areas within a half mile of the downtown or our 3 train stations that we would like CMDA to look at as potential areas for their investment. And so, we do have a TOD overlay around the Fairfield Blackrock area, and we have a smaller one in the downtown area. Those might be the easiest thing to put forth at this time, is just suggest, hey, take a look at these, and hopefully that would form the basis for the initial review. But there's a lot of other communities that have much further along in the process, so they're not exactly waiting for us. So we have to take that next step.
Just for fun, you could throw the Southport train station in there.
We certainly, the RTM resolution does allow for that, but I think we all agree that that's probably, I should say, staff agree.
Pitchforks would be out.
Step too far at this juncture. So, a couple other quick updates. We're in the final days of Fairfield Restaurant Week. Last week of Fairfield Restaurant Week runs through Sunday, 7th of September. We did change the format this year to have, based on some feedback we got from our restaurant operators, to have one kind of the tail end of summer into fall, around the Labor Day weekend. So that will allow us to have one in the wintertime as well. So we're planning one in January, winter edition. So far, we've gotten a lot of great engagement. I want to thank Fairfield U for their continued sponsorship and support of Fairfield Restaurant Week. And we're also working on Oktoberfest, which is our 3rd annual Oktoberfest, on the 13th of September, Saturday. Hopefully, we'll be blessed with good weather. We again have TD Bank and Boca Bar and Grill are our signature sponsors for that. We've got Illicit and Next Century Spirits also sponsoring. So there'll be tastings as well as craft beer on tap from. We have an assortment of games and musical entertainment. We do have Drive Box coming with a mobile golf simulator for those of you who want to check out your swing. We do have a miniature golf course and axe throwing this year. So a lot of different things that attain free admission, 2 to 5 on the 13th of September. So everyone's encouraged to attend. And I did want to also mention that for those interested, I'm part of the Connecticut Economic Development Association. We do have our annual meeting on the 30th of October from 2 to 5. It'll be in Milford at the Tide at Walnut Beach. And Paul Lavoie, a former Chief Manufacturing Officer for the state, and now Vice President of Innovation and Applied Technology at University of New Haven, is going to be our featured speaker. So if you'd like to attend, just let me know. I'll make sure that you get that information. So that's it for my report for today.
Fantastic.
Not that it's our major concern, but I am here in the know on this. It's September, and I have not seen any red light or speed cameras, which is good.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious what's happening with that, if you know
I will
anything.
have to check on that.
We did, I know the RTM did get an update recently, and I believe the new chief of police advised that there would be cameras in place before the end of this year.
Calendar year.
That's, yes, before the end of the calendar year,
Okay.
which would be about, 4 to 5 months, at least 6 months possibly into the fiscal year, so I'm sure we'll get another update. I will try to let you guys know.
Holiday present. There you go.
They're still pursuing the special election for the first selectman.
What's happening with that?
Yeah, it looks that way.
Enough signatures?
I don't know if they've finalized the petition, but, it's a fairly low bar.
5%.
So I would imagine that they will get enough signatures by the deadline to have a special election. That likely will happen after, I would guess, after the first of the year sometime. It won't happen for November for sure, so. Yep. Any other questions? Bev, I handed out a couple of the copies of the directory which I had left, so
Good.
you want to talk to that.
No, that's great. So what we have on the table is the new visitor's guide, but highlighting and celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Two things I'd like to point out to everyone here is the center spread gives history as written by the museum and the staff over there. Important information, but also reflecting Fairfield as well and kind of what was going on at that particular time as well. And then on page, I think it's on page 38, we were able to feature our map for the Fairfield Arts and Cultural District, which is really nice to have in here. And this is the current layout. So it was nice that we were able to get that into the visitor's guide. This will be distributed throughout the town at the events as they start to come up through through next July, actually. So we'll keep this going forward, and maybe even the next edition will continue to incorporate the history and the signing and all the good things about Fairfield and during that time as well. So
Beverly, just
Yeah.
a quick question. My team might have this already, but do we have the map? Because I know. I
For the
believe
cultural?
Civic Center, yeah.
If you don't, I can make sure you have it. It's on the
Yeah,
town's
would you mind
website, too.
sending me? It might make sense to have some copies in the bookstore or, I don't know. Let me just think.
Yes, I would love to have copies in the book, so that would be fantastic too.
Okay.
For all of that, that would be great. We received 350 of these right now. These will go out to our current chamber membership, and then the rest of the production will be coming in over the next week. So then that's when we have abundant visitors guides. But yes, we can certainly get those and would love to have them there for sure.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. And Mark, if you can send me the map itself, that would be ideal.
Yes.
Okay, great.
I'll send you both the website link and an attachment, so you.
Okay, great.
So the chamber has its annual community harvest market coming up on October 18th. And we've got a lot of vendors coming in already. We have our giant pumpkin, guess the weight for whoever wants to guess the weight on that. And we'll have prizes for that. And then, of course, we have the Halloween costume dog parade, which steps off at noon. we walk up to the YMCA and then come back, and Pet Pantry has 7 different prizes and awards for the categories that are voted on for the dogs. This is one of the Chamber's community events. I'd like to work with the community, the residential community, have our name out there as well. So Harvest Market is one that we do, and then Santa will be coming on November 30th. So we'll have the horses and the wagons. We're still trying to work on a petting zoo. But that's another great community event sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce in partnership with the town. So we'd like to get out there and have children enjoy what we do, and residents and all of that. We also have a date now for our economic outlook that will be at the Patterson Club, and that is on January 22nd. So you'll be seeing information on that coming out soon as well. And I think that's it for now. At the Little League parade, Jim Himes was there. I hope to do something with him. Lamont was there, do something with him again, and hope that we can get our legislators together for a breakfast pre-session before they go into session up in Hartford, so they can present what bills will be presented and what's going on, and to kind of give the business community an update of their interests, what they're looking forward to doing, and what they'll be doing up in Hartford as well. So I don't have a date on that one yet, but that's my update at this point. If anyone would like more of these, let me know in the next week, and we'll have all the inventory in-house.
This is really well done.
Thank you.
Just had enough for the folks here. Anything else from other business or commission concerns? Questions?
Waking up from the summer, so
Yeah.
rolling into the fall. I guess motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. That passes. So
Okay.
Thank you all.
give them time back in their day.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.